What's your emergency?
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the CAPIO podcast, a place for all things public information related for police, fire, EMS, local, state, and federal government. An open forum to learn, grow, and develop your public information skills. My name is Robert Tortabeni, and I am your host. I am a public information officer with over 17 years in the field and 27 years of law enforcement background. In each episode, we will explore different aspects of the public information officer profession. Weekly, we'll delve into the field of public information by talking to other PIOs. Welcome to Season 5. Thank you for your support of the podcast. I can't believe we're in our 5th season. So sit back and enjoy this episode.
Today on the PIO podcast, we would like to welcome Kevin Strauss. He's a communications manager for the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Kevin, as we do with all of our guests, could you tell us about your background and how you came to be the communications manager?
Yeah, so right out of college, I actually started working in college athletics as a sports information director. Did that for a few years and transitioned in the athletics department to more digital marketing, website, mobile app, social media things. From that position, I moved over to city government about 5-6 years in. Worked in the city government here in Santa Clarita for a few years. And then this last year, 2023, I took over as communications manager at SCV Water.
Okay, great. For our listeners, could you explain what the SCVWA is and what it does and what the impact is to the community?
Yeah. So SCV Water is a regional water provider here in the Santa Clarita Valley. We are 30 miles just about north of downtown Los Angeles in northern Los Angeles County. We serve a population of about 300,000 within the city itself and the surrounding unincorporated communities. We have about 75,000 service connections. So up until 2018, we were 4 separate retail agencies. We unified in 2018 and became SCV Water, and now we're going on 6 years.
So you recently took over the position from Kathy Kurt, correct?
Correct.
So when you came into the position, what were the challenges that you were faced with?
So first of all, I want to say a big thank you to Kathy. She was fantastic in the transition. I'm thankful that the organization allowed us to have a crossover period where we got to work with each other to really get a smooth transition and a handoff. The biggest challenge, I think, in 2023, 2 challenges. One was internal, and that's something that we wanted to address right away, is because I mentioned we had formed in 2018 from 4 separate agencies that were still trying to figure each other out. And then COVID hit in 2020, or really we started to feel the effects in 2020. Didn't really have that much time to shake out processes before staff went home, between work from home and in-person field staff. So that was a challenge in 2023, was coming out of those COVID restrictions and really unifying the staff and the communication strategy. But then also in California, we were facing crippling drought for years before then. We were just starting to come out of drought restrictions from the governor. And so it was a communications challenge internally to really unify staff and create a cohesive comm strategy and a plan moving forward. But then also in the community of how are we transitioning from COVID and then water use restrictions into more long-term conservation without being that penalty aspect that was on top of it. So the 2 really main things that we focused on right away.
Since you've been there, you made a couple changes. One of them was creating a digital media strategy, which incorporated paid digital ads. Was this an approach using paid digital ads before, or did you redefine it?
A little bit of both. So we had a web search advertising going on, a campaign where we would have that's how we got our drought messaging out, was having those ads and connecting folks with rebates on our website. And as they're searching for how to save water, an ad would pop up and take them through that process. But really what we were in the middle of last summer when I took over was a full-on comprehensive community survey, a customer survey, to find out where was our message resonating with customers, how were they finding us, finding news about us, and how did they prefer us to communicate with them? Because we understand that different classes of customers are more apt to use the internet versus the newspaper versus magazines or radio. So we found that our customers were more often getting their news from us directly. And so they were getting it in their bills and other postcards that we're mailing to them, but also online through our website or through just searching about water use. So we really wanted to tailor what message we were sending to them and be able to hit them where they were, knowing where our customers were and where they were finding out news about us and that happened to be online. So we really wanted to tailor our ad strategy more towards online than in other traditional ways.
All right, so I'd like to explore a little bit of this, the whole paying for advertisements. A lot of government organizations paying for advertisement can be like a big issue, especially for law enforcement and fire departments who still rely on like standard methods of advertising.
Mhm.
How do you think the paid advertising has literally paid off?
Well, and it's an interesting question because again, it's one for me that's where is your audience? What message are you trying to send? How are you trying to get that out there? For a lot of organizations, paid advertising doesn't make sense because the folks that they're trying to reach aren't going to those locations, or putting an advertisement in a newspaper when readership is down doesn't make the most financial sense. So
No.
you got to find other ways to do that. So it's about looking at the organization and knowing where our readers or our audience or whatever your target is, and then advertising and showing up where they are, communicating with them where they are, if that's advertisements, if that's press releases, interviews, however that is. So for us, it's been digital, and we have that thankfully through. We're still a government organization. We're still a special district. We're not connected to the city government, but we are still governed by a board of directors. And so we're very public with here's what our budget is, and we're using X amount for advertising, and that's all done through the public process. So it's not a surprise, I guess, to see advertisements from the organization out there. But it has been it's given us a way to really take the metrics that come with digital advertising and to see what is resonating, what is working. We can track that a lot better than other traditional forms or legacy forms of communication and advertising.
Yeah, I agree. And, this is where I think a lot of local, like city government will do this frequently. They'll pay for advertisements because part of it goes for tourism and so on. And then they have campaigns that they just know that the advertising targeting, the actual targeting part of the advertisement end of it is much better than just hoping you put it up as a post on social media and hoping the right eyes get it. Do you see, when you look at your metrics, do you change your strategy at that point, or is it just something you're keeping track of and then you modify the next time you put out?
Yeah. So thankfully for us, and we work with partners that help us with the advertising strategy. We do have consultants and contractors, depending on what the campaign is. But we have a lot of fluidity. So if something is not working, we don't want to make a snap decision because we put out an ad for 3 days and we've got no hits on it. We really want to let it run its course, but also knowing that the way that digital advertising works is we're really not locked into, let's say, 6 months of the same campaign. If it's not working and we're not seeing what we want, we can change that message. We can change targeting for keywords. We can change if it's on social media, really what that demographic user that we're looking to get the ad in front of. And we found success with that. And you mentioned, city governments and tourism. Well, for us, it's more of we use it as one for rebates and for sharing information on how people can conserve water and what regulations they have to face if it is for water use in a drought. But it's also for emergency purposes. And you talk about police and fire, and that's a huge thing for our organizations, is being able to get the connection with the audience, with the residents, because when it is an emergency, we need them to listen. We need them to trust us. We need them to know that this is where they're getting verified, accurate information, and we need to work together at that point. And so that advertising is helping us in the blue sky days figure out for when it is a storm coming, that they know what they can expect from us, and we have that relationship already.
You brought something up, or it triggered a thought. How is this impacting, like wildfires? How is that impacting you guys right now?
In what sense?
Is it impacting the ability to get water to the community, or does it reduce or change what you guys are doing right now?
For us specifically in the Santa Clarita Valley, it's not. So where we have a blend of groundwater. We are thankful that we have robust groundwater wells and production here in the Santa Clarita Valley, where some other organizations don't have it to the extent that we do. But we also have the California State Water Project, where we import water from Northern California and the Sierra Nevada snowpack down through the state, and that comes to us. So it's about half of our water supply. So over time, our strategy for water resources and supply is to store and to bank water either locally through recharge or through other programs in the state and reservoirs, where when it is extremely dry, extremely hot, we can pull on those reserves and increase our groundwater production and not rely so much on imported water that may not be available. And we adjust it as the year comes by. So we've been thankful to have a great management in the organization for decades now. That's put us in a pretty good position. But yeah, there are challenges. Not going to lie, it's storms that are once in a century, once in a lifetime, that systems are maybe not designed to have hundreds of firefighters connect at the same time, because they were built 100 years ago, and there wasn't that knowledge base. So it's stressful, but it is about the resource management and making sure that we have access when we need to, and we have the infrastructure in place.
All right, so I saw in 2024 you went through a rebrand, or you did some rebranding.
Yeah.
Did that involve the creation of a style guide?
It did, yeah. We it wasn't so much of a rebrand, I guess, as just let's write down what our brand is. I mentioned
okay.
It was a 2018 we formed, still working out the processes, COVID, and so it was now let's have set logo, set fonts, set colors. Now let's actually put it in writing and establish that for the organization.
Okay, and how is that? I guess let me ask this: how is that handled? How was that perceived internally?
That's a great question. It depends who you talk to, I guess. I think there was a known that it was a need. We're still working through it. We put it together last year. At the end of the year is when the style guide was finalized, the brand guidelines, and there's always going to be departments and staff that we've always done it this way. Well, now we need to buy in. We need to make sure that the formatting is the same, because we want to have that consistency. We want to have the same message, the same experience, especially because we're a utility organization. We want customers to have that same experience no matter when they interact with us or where they interact with us. So it takes some time for sure to explain and to educate internally on why it is important. We're not just doing something to do it. And then I think now that we're here almost a year later of rolling it out, we've got a lot of buy-in. It's been great to have for people to say, you know what, yeah, you guys are communications and outreach, you know what you're doing, this is what you're working on, and we're all working together on it.
Years ago, I used to look at this going, yeah, style guide, or I should say, not the style guide, that the email signatures, the type of signature, what it was really didn't matter until I started really looking into it and looking at how many different versions of an email signature there were, and what individuals had in them, and what images they had in them, and then how inappropriate some of those images were. That when I was with one of my former agencies, we had to go through, and that was very difficult to get people to change just their email signature alone, let alone get rid of some of the images.
That's been the toughest part. Really, the style guide has been otherwise, and it's not. I'm not saying that there's an issue. We've had a lot of pushback and fighting on it. It's just since we do so much work with contractors and consultants in the water industry, writing reports or geotechnical surveys and environmental impact reports and the such, it's great to have a style guide to give those consultants who are doing work on behalf of the agency for that consistency. But yeah, email signatures have been the last thing to be adopted.
Yeah.
But again, it's pick your battles, I guess.
Of course.
We're definitely prioritizing, and it's great that we've got at least the big public and legislative and regulatory needs out of the way first.
What challenges do you see for public sector communicators face? What are they going to face in the next 5 years?
I still think, and you've talked about it on the podcast, and you've had great guests on about it. AI is still our biggest unknown in communication. It's a mix between a public that's increasingly distrustful of government and government organizations and wanting to have that ownership over the information that they get, which is good. It's that we need to have transparency. We need to be able to have a strong relationship that we continue to work on. We can't just take that for granted. But I think that AI and the role that it's going to play of, can people trust that the information they're getting, the images they're seeing, the videos, is that real? And I think that the public determining if something is created through generative AI, does that count as being authentic and real and transparent, or do they feel some distrust there because they're not being served up something that's tangible, that's real? So I think that's the biggest challenge, is finding a way to really walk that line.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Increase your social media reach and streamline your workflow with Social News Desk, the social media management software trusted by government agencies across the country. Publish effortlessly and securely across multiple social networks, including Nextdoor. Stay connected with social listening, engagement, and reporting tools all in one place. And here's an exclusive offer just for PIO podcast listeners. Get 3 months free when you sign up. Head over to socialnewsdesk.com/PIO to get started today. And now, back to our episode. Have you incorporated any AI into anything that you do?
I have not personally put out anything that was created with AI. I've played around with it. I still don't quite understand the prompts for images. I would love to learn that. I'd love to study that more.
That is a world. That is a world unto itself. Let me tell you. I have tried. I've gotten almost nowhere.
I've used a few ChatGPT just for like research and topics and summaries of things, just for my own education to get quick information on. But no, I haven't created something to put out yet, and I'm not sure that I will. I'm really in that respect a final adopter because I still enjoy sitting down and cranking out a press release and calling up people and doing interviews. Like that's still something that I enjoy coming to work to do every day and building.
Oh, yeah.
It's not saying that there's no value there. I just have not made that step yet.
Yeah, no, I've used AI in a couple different ways. Images, that's a tough thing. Still, there's still a lot to catch up on that. Mm-hmm. But I have used it as a tool to help me recraft some language in a press release, mm-hmm. to help me fine tune a paragraph. Maybe it's a little, it's not flowing right, and it'll give me an idea of where I need to go.
Yes. Yes.
I've done other things where I was working on a presentation for completely unrelated to what about PIOs, but I was looking to create a curriculum, and I put out my prompts, and it gave me the outline of what I needed, and then I could turn around and make sure that, okay, this has everything I want. Now I got to go and write the curriculum. I didn't have it write the curriculum, but having to shorten the amount of time to come up with the outline to make sure I was comprehensive, it was very helpful.
I definitely see the value of that and having that background or like that spark to start helping with the work. But yeah, as far as, we had an event this morning and I wouldn't turn to it and say, write a press release about such and such event for me. I wouldn't do that and make that step.
No, I wouldn't do something like that either.
Yeah, of helping fine tune things or spark an idea of where I should go next. I see the value in that for sure.
Yeah. By the way, congratulations for being named the 2024 Communicator of the Year by the California Association of Public Information Officers.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a surprise, especially for just starting out with the organization, but it's been a testament to our entire organization of just the buy-in and really letting us kind of run with it, run with what we wanted to do in communications. And, you don't really get that a lot of places. It's been a lot of fun being here.
Recognition is always a good thing to have. It helps remotivate people. And I forgot to ask this before. Are there are you a one-man band, or are there more people in your office?
I've got two folks that work with me that are senior public public affairs specialists, and one has been with the organization for about 15 years or so. She was with a legacy agency before SCV Water formed and made the merge. Another came from another organization a few years ago, and then I'm also in charge of I oversee our education and outreach for our school districts. So we take in almost every day. We've got a different local school class, grade school, coming up to our water treatment facility to tour the plant, learn about water science and environmental science. And those are the primary grades. And then 4th through 6th grade, we have teachers actually out in the community making field trip or making presentations at schools. So I oversee the strategy for our school education, our public and community events and participation, and then really in the communications office is myself and two others.
Okay, so I should have asked that before, because it's important to know. I didn't think you were all by yourself just because of the size of the organization, the actual organization itself, mm-hmm. and the nature of the work you do. But I'm glad to hear that you have some help there because that's a lot of work.
It is, and they've been fantastic. They've definitely made it an easy transition here. It's been great.
Kevin, is there a question I should have asked? And if so, how would you have answered it?
I don't know that there's something that you necessarily should have asked, but one that I always like to talk about and is really the importance to me and having the buy-in from those that you work with to be able to do what you want to do. And I mentioned it a second ago, but this organization is one that I joined, and I came from an organization that had this as well. I was very thankful to have very supportive agencies that I've worked for in my career, but not being able to have a seat at the table in decisions, or I'm not necessarily making decisions at the management level, but being able to be in the room and to offer up public perception and play that role for our executives has really freed me to help shape, craft, guide what our communications and what our messaging is out in the community. And so I think that's been the toughest thing internally and externally. We've done a lot of internal communication, a lot of system building and relationship building with our staff, and trying to bring everybody together a lot in the last year. And I think it's been successful. And I think that starts by having supportive management, a general manager, executive, a city manager, a chief, or whoever you report to, understand the value of communications. And I would not be here if I didn't feel that was possible here. And so I just want to say that's number one. I think if you don't have that, then it's going to be really, really tough to get done what you want to get done.
I completely agree. No matter what organization that I was with, there was always that I've got to be in the room at least to hear what's going on so that I know how to message, but also to offer that insight into what the community sees and hears coming from that message and how they're going to perceive it. And incredibly important because a misstep in their messaging because they're not considering it, because they're not considering maybe the optics of it can be extremely detrimental to the organization.
And you didn't ask this, but it has nothing to do with communications. All the Met stuff behind me. I'm from New Jersey originally, so that's where my heart is. But I'm here in California now.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. I did not. Oh, that's funny. Sometimes I'm getting old and I don't have the video image that large because I use a camera in front of it. But I appreciate you pointing that out because I did not notice it. All right, Kevin, let's change this up to some rapid fire questions.
Awesome.
All right, here we go. Texting or talking?
Texting, 100%.
Movies or books?
I like to read the book, and then if there's been a movie that's been made about the book, I'll watch the movie after that.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink?
Coffee, all day long.
Adult drink of choice?
Bourbon on the rocks.
Do you have a favorite bourbon?
I really like Wild Turkey, but I'm open to anything. I just go up and hit the Total Wine or whatever and try something new each time.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Okay, I would really love to travel fast, like Flash. So I would like to run really quick. I like to get to places, but I don't like to journey. I hate driving. I don't like just the way it's just very monotonous. So if I could be anywhere, then that's what I would do. So Flash is probably the closest superhero.
Cool. Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
Find the line in between the two, depending on the situation.
That's a good one.
Because sometimes you got to do both.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. And that is what a lot of PIO work is like. What place do you most want to travel to?
Oh, I would really like to go to Rome. I've never been to Europe, but I would stop there first.
What's your favorite way to relax after a long day?
Sitting around the kitchen table, getting home, seeing my young kids, seeing my wife, and just being home.
Family. Yep.
Yep.
If you could choose to have coffee with any historical figure, living or dead, who would it be?
So I have one for dead and alive. Is that all right?
Oh, absolutely.
So a historical figure who is not with us anymore, probably Steve Jobs, just because of the revolutionizing of communication. And I really just like to pick his brain on just other problems that the world has and how you might propose to solve them. I think that'd be an interesting conversation to have. Living, probably Jerry Seinfeld. Probably if I could be on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I feel like we have the same observational sense of humor. And so I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Definitely. As we wrap this up, do you have any key points you would like our listeners to take from today's interview?
Again, I mentioned it a few times. Being in the room is number one. I also think it's extremely important to study who your audience is, whether that's an external audience or an internal audience, and then go and meet them where they are. So if you're working on internal communications and you know you're having some challenges communicating with field staff, but you've never been out to a tailgate meeting, you've never sat down and had lunch with the crews, that's going to be an issue. So you need to find out who your audience is and where they are and go and talk to them there. And it works with the external. We put so much effort into the external and figuring out where to advertise, where to have media placements, but we forget to do that with our own staff. And so that's a huge thing. And then I guess lastly, and I didn't talk about it, anybody can do this. A one-man shop, a one-person shop, to huge teams, big budget, small budget, no budget, of setting a style guide, being consistent with messaging, determining here's what our logo is going to be, how we're going to use it, here's what font, like that's all easy. It's not low power, no power. It's tough, but it's low cost or no cost. So just make those decisions and be consistent about it, because that's going to be huge in building a brand and building up trust in the community.
Absolutely. Is there a piece of wisdom or a motto that you live by?
Yes, professionally, I take a page from Ted Lasso, and I'm a big believer in believe. I feel that personally myself as the communications manager, but also for our team, if I don't believe in myself that I'm the right person to give this message or to craft this campaign and deliver it, if I don't believe that my team has the capability to do the job, if my supervisors don't have the belief in me, then it's not going to be successful, and we're not going to be able to do what we want to do. We're not going to be innovative. We're not going to push the envelope. We're not going to make any headway with where we want to go. So having that internal belief first in myself and my team, and having that buy-in together, I think that's the foundation that we need.
Excellent. Yep. So what are your thoughts about the next season of Ted Lasso?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I was not expecting it at all. I thought we were done, and I was a little bit disappointed that we were done, but I'll watch it. I'll be there. Whether it's good or not.
I'm really looking forward to seeing it. How can people best reach you if they want to connect or follow up?
Probably LinkedIn is the easiest and safest for most people. And I'm sure, Robert, if we can either put in the episode notes
Absolutely.
or something,
Yep.
a link
I'll put
to
it
my
in the show
LinkedIn,
notes.
my email address, as well as kstrauss@scvwa.org. We'll hopefully put that in too. Drop me a line anytime, email, just to chat, just to bounce ideas off of. I'm always around. I'm always available. I always have my phone on me. It's a bad habit. But yeah, I love just talking with people about stuff, brainstorming things, figuring out challenges, problems. I think that's one of my favorite things to do is to, I say text over talk, but I love talking to people about this stuff.
Oh, it's our job, right? And we love to talk to people. So that's just what it is. Kevin, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Robert.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and our content. If you are listening on a platform that allows reviews, please give us a review. We read all reviews, and your feedback is essential. Do not forget to check out our sponsor, Social News Desk. Thank you, Social News Desk, for their sponsorship and their offer to all our listeners. Please click the link at the bottom of today's show notes to help support the show. Your support in any amount is greatly appreciated. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep the conversation going. You're the heart and soul of the PIO podcast.